Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of Trident Talks. Today I'm delighted to be joined by James Lyne. Hi James.
Hey, how's it going today?
Really good, thank you. Thanks for joining me. I've been excited and looking forward to having you on for a little while now. So James is the founder of Secure Impact. James, why don't you start by giving us a little intro? Most people in the industry will know you. I've probably seen you present a number of times, but for those who don't, feel free to tell us who you are.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. So people may have run into me in various guises over the years. It's been a career packed with quintessentially nerdy leadership roles, everything from malware reverse engineering. I was at Sophos for quite a long time, working in the endpoint security space, kind of dealing with huge volumes of malicious code, and a team that were working on some of the early side of kind of machine learning approaches to dealing with huge detection spaces. Fascinating stuff. Amazing team. Some of you may have run into me in the role as SANS CTO or as a SANS instructor. So I spent years teaching incident response, how to stay calm, the zen in the moment of the storm of an incident, with lots and lots of students, and of course, advanced penetration testing and exploit development. So technical roles there. Teaching some of the upper echelon challenging material in the industry, and as well, popped up here and there in the news, helping with kind of education and awareness of cybersecurity. Spent the last few years in particular really working on how we bring the next generation of cyber talent into the industry that, well, everyone listening to this needs, us, you, etc. So really working on building that next generation, which of course, does lead us to today and your very first introduction in founding Secure Impact as well. So
yeah,
cool to see everyone again and be here.
Yeah, no, good. It's great. It's great to have you, and really interesting background in terms of security. You've done a variety of roles, and see the whole teaching side of things as well, and the instructor side is great. People take a lot from that as well. So Secure Impact. So I've obviously known of you guys for a little while. I've been speaking to various members of the team. I think you guys are at the start of your journey, and it looks as if it will be a very interesting journey. So tell us a little bit about who Secure Impact are, why they were formed, and how they tie in with, I guess, current market trends and plans that you forecast within the cyber industry.
Yeah, for sure. And this was a culmination of a few different trends for me that kind of led to this becoming what I think is a good idea. So I'm going to share the kind of crucible of each of them with you, because I think they're trends that are interesting in explaining why we've built SI. I think they're also interesting trends for all of us to think about in our businesses and in security generally. So I'll start with the first one. I and various kind of members of my team over the years have had this role of playing expert reviewer to reports in the offensive space, looking at reviews of mobile banking applications that were being dissected to figure out how cybercriminals may attack them. I've looked at so many penetration test reports over the years, so it's mind-blowing number, forensics reports and expert witness cases, and time again, whilst there's lots of good material in many of these reports, there's a pretty consistent problem that many of them fail to translate into kind of actionable plans for business. So it's kind of, hey, FYI, your application's broken, everything's horrible, it's critical severity, good luck with that.
Yeah.
And then you watch the next report roll around and it's similar. Of course, new things come up, things go wrong, and security is a constant battle. We all know that.
Yeah.
But there's this real difficulty of actually creating change from these findings, not just fixing the specific point of remediation, but getting the teams internally to be able to level up their skills, work better together, and action the stuff so we get business value from it. A second related trend is with the drive of more and more compliance into contracting. I mean, GDPR has certainly done a ton of that, but more and more organizations I know are finding requirements for 27001 turning up and so on. Now, I'm not anti-compliance. It's really important to have a policy framework, really important to know how your business operates. But there's an interesting side effect in that lots of organizations now are tick boxing some of the security parts, right? You must have seen this as well.
Yeah, I agree completely, right? I think it's a lot of exactly what you said. It's a tick box exercise to make sure you're doing what you should be doing, and the actual security risks aren't always covered.
That's right. Yeah, it's like, hey, we did a pen test from a credible firm. Mission accomplished. But what did you really do with it? Did you really mitigate the risk? Do you really have the people with the skills to handle it, or did you run the process? And the compliance and security aren't at odds, but the implementation in many of our businesses ends up being at odds.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing more and more reports which are like, hey, here's the output of a scan tool. That's the report. There's kind of 27 pages of open ports and assets. It's complete nonsense. No business can do anything with it.
Yeah.
But they did a test.
Yeah.
And then the last trend, if that second one, a kind of race to the bottom
just
of
on that second trend as well. Something
yes.
that I find really interesting as well is when I speak to, let's say, penetration testers, for instance, that have come out of education or maybe come from the military, and they want to move into pen testing because it's cool and you do all this red team and this exciting stuff, and then they end up just doing cyber essentials, tick box exercises. They they very quickly fall out of love with the job, or what was sold to them. So I think it's important that when these jobs are also advertised from a recruitment perspective, we're actually being honest with people and saying that this is the role that you so many roles are advertised as red teaming when it's a million miles from that.
Here. I completely agree. You're right. So many roles are advertised as the sexy end of offensive security. And in reality, a lot of the time we need to run more mundane scans. That's cool. Like running a tool and helping a business fix problems to be more secure. That's okay. But you also do need that more creative set of skills. There's more to being a good offensive security practitioner than just running the tool.
Mm-hmm.
But for many, that's the scope, right? That's the engagement. And that kind of does lead nicely into this third area that's kind of led for me to this foundation of SI, and which I think is really important for us to think about as an industry. I'm hoping you're going to agree with me, Sean, here as well, because I know you have a lot of visibility on this stuff too. We have got to a place where quite a lot of security services or security disciplines are very isolated from one another. So over here, you've got your offensive stuff, you're doing your pen testing. Over here, it's forensic stuff. Over here, it's defensive stuff. And I know there's a bunch of shades underneath that as well, but just kind of at a high level. In reality, to create organizational security and change, to manage the right risks, to emulate the right adversaries, you need a combined approach. Mm-hmm. And you want each one of those teams and capabilities to feed the other.
Yep.
The goal with red teaming is not to just hack the organization. You're going to win, right? It's an unfair battle in many ways. But you need to emulate the risks that are prescient to that organization. You need to emulate at the right level of maturity to get the right learnings. And if you, as an offensive red teamer, are not doing that and helping the blue team to level up and learn new skills, what's your point?
Yeah.
You're hacking a business to show you're vulnerable, but everyone knew that. Every CISO listing's like, yes, I'm vulnerable. It's a matter of time until it happens. I want to reduce that. I want to reduce the dwell time. I want to react quicker. The industry's there, but how teams work non-collaboratively doesn't reflect how we talk about security now and the value that we want. Okay. So those three trends together led me to, let's do this right. Let's put together a team. They're going to work together, crossing disciplines. They're going to be certified to be the best of the best. So we're going to make sure they have the right training. We're not going to make them sit there and run that scan tool. We're going to let them do real tailored work to help businesses. We're going to let them take time to write the report with findings and explanation, actually help a business do something about it. Mm-hmm. And the default is going to be more of a purple teaming approach. Yep. So when you're taking a red engagement, you're committing to sit with the blue team and create shared learnings and outcomes and actually raise the level of the organization, not just say thanks, ship the report and be out of there. So that's the real kind of driving force behind this. It spans a lot of different services. And as you said, we're right at the beginning of our journey. In time, we're going to be offering a lot of different areas here. But our core ethos, we want to actually make sure that we're living up to that security trend of business improvement, of correct risk modeling. And by virtue, we want the people that work at SI, the testers, the forensicators, the defenders, we want to actually love the work they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've had a career of doing awesome security work, helping people be more secure, and loved every minute of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what it should be like.
Yeah, I agree. Even though you guys are at the start of your journey, you've got a real awesome from what I've seen anyway, and from people I've spoken to, a real awesome foundation of people that know what they're doing. It's not like your typical startup consultancy that are, we've got a couple of people doing that. There's a really good team of people, technically solid and also commercially as well.
Solid team. And I love that we've got a blend of senior folks who are, very experienced, very certified, worked at some interesting places. I love we've started as well with juniors. We're putting our money where our mouth is and bringing newcomers into the industry and training them in the interesting side of this, not the kind of experience you described earlier.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's good. So what next for you guys? I mean, look, without telling us your plans and going into too much detail, what is, I guess, the future? What does the future hold for SI? And also, how do you see that intertwining with the future of the security market in general?
Big question. Big question.
Get your crystal ball out for that one.
Exactly. Let me give that a go as succinctly as I can. First thing I'd say is, of course, security and technology just changing at a ludicrous velocity. So, any strategy that we're employing now, how we plan to expand our services, how we plan to expand geographically and in people, is going to have to respond to, what customers need. Mm-hmm. We've just been through a 1 in 100-year pandemic, which has been pretty fascinating in terms of technology and security. Now, I'm not saying that COVID was a good thing. I think everyone would agree that was not the case, and I certainly didn't enjoy that period of the pandemic. But interestingly, it accelerated some technology trends 5, 6, Absolutely. 7 years.
Yeah. I agree with you.
I mean, really did pull them forwards. Some of them are actually great. They're really positive for the future of work. Others, organizations had to react very quickly and get themselves working, in cloud services. They were maybe less methodical or took on more risk than they normally would have done.
Yep.
I do believe there's going to be a calibration period of the next couple of years of catch-up projects, helping to figure out the security mistakes and misdemeanors that we've committed during these periods. Paying back some of those debts. So I think this is going to be a time to watch as we return to normal now, making sure we actually know what normal is in our organizations. We've made so much change so quickly.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's
there's always this debate,
right?
There's this debate all the time: is going back to the office normal, is remote normal? And I think we've all got to just find some sort of middle ground that works for everyone. But there is no normal now. That's the simple answer.
Rule book has been teared up, hasn't it? And
and
even on the infrastructure side, I was talking to a CISO the other day, very salient chap, and he said, "Hey, we started the week with 6,000 people on our VPN, and by the end of the week, as COVID was hitting, we had 50,000 people on that VPN. We provisioned all this infrastructure. We're building these new servers to support it. The technology team are going breakneck speed to be able to serve this business requirement." well, now we've got to loop back round and go, did we build them right? Do we have the right policies? Have we left things dangling because the team were working at 2 a.m. trying to do the right thing to keep the business going? Yeah. Right decision, businesses have got to operate. But there's tidying the battlefield, if you will. Yeah. And I think that's going to be quite a process. I think that's going to turn up in a lot of different ways. I think it'll turn up in offensive and proactively reviewing some of the stuff. I think it's going to turn up in forensic when things go wrong. Yep. Seeing some early signs of that already now, with cases popping up that look like the direct result of fast expansion. It's what you would have called the M&A gig prior to COVID, but there's lots of them now. So that aside, kind of let me talk to the strategy piece that you asked there. We were really focused on living up to those values that I described, both for our customers, but also our people. We want it to be, a place where there is some joy in doing this meaningful work that helps organizations avert crises or reduce the impact. Whether it's the offensive proactive stuff, whether it's purple teaming and helping teams internally to level up their skills, or whether it's reducing the time it takes to find the attacker, get the right evidence, get them out of systems. We are continuously scaling people both on the technical side, on the commercial side, the organizational side, to make sure that we can kind of continue to deliver that experience. A lot of organizations reach a point where they just become a utilization business. Yep. And they just need to get heads in and drive what they can. Something that has consistently been the case for me throughout my career and really applies here is a focus on kind of impressive care of quality. Absolutely. Having the right metrics to make sure that we continuously live up to, being the best at providing business value, providing testing that isn't just a run report. It's considered and targeted and intended for the organization. So we will be scaling people, but we'll be doing it methodically, not in a rush, focusing on the quality standards. We're doing a lot in the UK now. We are just starting to expand into other regions as well. Some of that a little earlier than intended. I think some of these values have resonated, and we have people kind of reaching over the seas and saying, "Hey, could you work on this?" Which, given working practices from COVID, appears to be more possible than ever before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even on the forensic side, which I must admit I didn't expect. So we are expanding globally from the UK and then out, doing some work in the UAE as well. I think the real key for me with these values with the team, knowing that we're going to put everything into producing these quality assets that are suitably tailored. I think we're trying to find the right set of customers to be our core of focus for the next 12 months. So it's not take work from anyone and everyone. Yeah. That's something that's a partnership.
Yeah, that's something that's from speaking to your team that I've heard a few times, and I think it's pretty cool, cool approach, right? Don't just take business for the sake of the financial aspect. Let's stick to our values, let's do it right. And if it takes a little bit longer, so be it, but we're still going to be true to ourselves and why we're doing this.
And it's better for the customer. You take time to learn their business, you take time to learn what their real risk is. And it was the most shocking thing in one of our early engagements with the team where we got to test these values. The customer wants this. I'm like, well, tell them they shouldn't do that. They're wasting their money. But we can do the test. We're like, yeah, but we shouldn't. That's the wrong problem. They need to do this over here. That's a smaller engagement. Yeah, but it's what they need. Yeah. You could see this kind of light bulb moment of, So that's what we want to be, the trusted advisors, find those partners to work with, and do this methodically, see if we can't be a place that brings our new talent to the industry, that's phenomenal to work. And big ambition, I hope, from our corner, as well as helping a lot of businesses be more secure and be a great partner. I hope we can maybe change the mindset of the industry a little bit and change a little bit of how some of these services are delivered and break some of that stalemate between the compliance and security trend, like we've talked about. Big goal, but you got to shoot for the stars, right?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. What you're doing is brilliant. And look, I'm excited to see how it pans out over the next 12, 24, 36 months. I think already you guys are doing, like we said, doing more than what you probably expected at this early on. So credit to you guys. And look, it's been really, really good to speak to you. And I appreciate you giving insight into the business, into yourself. I will share some links so people can, reach out to you guys directly or someone within the team if they want more information about Secure Impact. But it's been an absolute pleasure having you on today.
Thank you so much for having me. An absolute joy as well. And hopefully, listeners got a thing or two to think about there. Even if they're not talking to SI, something they can use to help reform how they think about security and get the right value from it. So Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Sean.
No worries. Thanks, James.